My name is Athena Jocelyn Burke. I am 6 years old.
Athena's story really started when I was pregnant with her. At her 20-week ultrasound, they flagged that her umbilical cord was inserted too far on the side of the placenta, and they started digging into our genetic history.
We found out that she likely has cystic fibrosis because of what they're seeing in ultrasound and then what our genetics are. What she had was very rare within cystic fibrosis. So, when a kid is born, they have the first poop and it's like that black tar. Well, in CF, that becomes hardened because of her condition of CF, and it clogs up the small intestine, and then it just builds up.
Her intestine continued to grow and grow, and they were pretty concerned about it. And about a week before she was supposed to be born, she actually stopped moving. So I went into the hospital and they said, yes, you are correct, she's in distress. You need to be induced right now.
The head comes out, shoulders, and then all of a sudden, it's not coming, and it feels like it's stuck. Her stomach was so big that the pressure from her stomach being big, it collapsed her lung.
And I held her for about a minute, and she was just turning blue, not breathing. They took her away right away, and they took her up to the NICU right away, and they intubated her. And it was about 2 hours before we found out what was actually going on with her. So by the time we were able to go see her, she was already scheduled to take a med flight down to Madison. So she was already in the box, fully intubated to go on the helicopter ride. So when I get into Madison, I get checked in and I go straight up there, and I have about 10 minutes to spend with her before they do emergency exploratory surgery. And when they did the surgery, they found out that her small intestine actually twisted up and died. And they said that if I didn't go into the hospital when I did, she would have been dead within 24 hours. So she's definitely a miracle baby. She ended up with an ostomy bag for 6 weeks. She also ended up getting a really rare blood disease during that time. Then she went in for her second surgery, had her intestine reconnected.
We went home on December 18th after, I think it was 50 or 52 days. And we get home right in time for Christmas. A couple weeks in, everything just went sideways. So she was sick nonstop. Everywhere you turned, it felt like bad things were happening for a while, but we overcame it. Obviously, the CF clinic here, pediatric specialties, was a big part of that, got her healthy, and then everything just kind of grew from there.
She has to do something called chest physical therapy.
It's basically 2 hours of treatment every single day.
I think she was somewhere between 12 and 18 months. We were actually able to get her fitted with a mechanical vest, and that she's up to about 30 minutes on that. And if she continues to take her medications and do her respiratory treatments, she can live a long, full life.
I'm Liam Schott, and I'm a type 1 diabetic.
Liam was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes 2.5 years ago.
And it kind of surprised us. We were just going about our business that fall, and he seemed a little off.
A little more tired, and I think he explained it that he just felt like, I'm out of gas certain days. And so I made an appointment with just our local provider, and she was very quick to say, this is something more than just a bug.
They said, you need to come up to Gunderson to the ER, and they checked his labs and said, yep, we need to get him admitted and start getting him fluids and getting his blood sugar under control.
The care team was awesome. In that time frame of waiting to get in to our regular care provider, he was going downhill very fast. He was very lethargic, and within just a few days, you could just see the dehydration was taking root and he was losing weight. So the fact that we were taken in and cared for so quickly and extensively was really, really wonderful.
Liam was in the hospital for, I think it was about a full 3 days.
It was kind of scary being in there. I'd never been in the hospital before that I could remember.
He was constantly getting fluids and teaching us about what it means to be a type 1 diabetic now. And he just jumped right in there. He was ready to learn and know that this was something that he was going to tackle for the rest of his life.
It was kind of crazy. I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'll have this.
By the time we got home, he was giving his own insulin injections. He was asking, how many carbs are in this food?
And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm not used to this, but it's really easy for me, and my parents are a really big help for that.
Today, things are really good. Liam, you wouldn't know him from any other kid who's running around. He just has to stop sometimes to maybe grab some candy or some extra water. And that's always been the goal that the care staff has told us, is Liam can be just like any other kid. And thankfully, he is able to be that. The future for Liam looks wide open. The sky's the limit for the things that he can continue to do and go through as a diabetic, and it's not something that limits him. It is something that's with him always, but it doesn't define him.
I'm Marbury, and I was born with a special heart.
She was born at 38 weeks, healthy, happy.
We did know she did have a ASD in her heart, so that was something we were monitoring. Everything seemed fine. They let us take her home with really no concerns. We'll just kind of keep an eye on that hole, hoping that it would close on its own. 4 days later, we woke up to a blue baby. She was in multiple organ failure.
They med flighted her out to a different facility, and about 13 hours later, they were able to figure out what was causing her organ failure, and that's when they identified the congenital heart defects. She went for her first surgery when she was 10 days old.
I'll never forget that feeling of helplessness. When you hear that your 10-day-old daughter has to have her chest possibly open up, that's a very scary thing because so many things can happen when they get into surgery.
She recovered fine, and she went home a few weeks later.
We were not expecting things to change as fast as they did. We thought we would have more time in between possibly having an open heart surgery and her thoracotomy, but she had other plans.
So she had to report for open heart surgery. She was about 3.5 months old for that procedure. She did well during surgery, but she did not recover as easily as they anticipated. And the nurse looked at us and said, "You guys haven't eaten. You need to go eat some dinner." That nurse just knew that something was going to happen and knew she just needed to get mom and dad out of the room. We barely got to the restaurant and they called saying that she coded.
So we ran back as fast as we could.
She kept coding. They kept having to open her chest. She'd stabilize. They couldn't find anything. They'd close her, and then it'd happen again. And so after the second time, they just decided to keep her chest open with a mesh protectant.
I don't think anybody should have to look at the insides of their child like that. It's a lot. And I'll never get that image out of my head either.
Marbury is 7, happy, healthy, hitting all her milestones. One of the main things that they continued to worry about was a stroke and how that could impact her development over the course of the next several years. She may require another surgery at some point, but until then, she has no restrictions.
If you didn't know her story, you'd have no idea of what she's gone through, and it's just amazing to see how far she's come and how none of this seems to negatively affect her outlook on life. She's a very happy, empathetic, very wonderful little girl.
April Kerrigan. I am Oakland's mom. She'd been feeling sick on and off for a couple months, had belly pains. She'd spike a low-grade fever for a day, and after about a couple months, we just said enough is enough. What we thought would be a simple infection, a simple illness, definitely was not.
And then it went really quick from there.
So this was on April Fool's Day. The gist of it all, you just kind of know something big is going to happen. And the doctor came in crying himself.
Everything just kind of stopped.
It was Wilm's tumor, so there was a mass about the size of a baseball on her right kidney. And as a parent, you never expect that to happen. We met with all different departments to kind of go over what the next steps might be, chemo, radiation, surgery. She was very lethargic. Her blood count was really low, and they were thinking that the tumor had internally ruptured. So we were hospitalized. 41 days we spent in the hospital.
So we had to do some blood transfusions to try to give her the fighting chance, and had her surgery with her port installation and had her first round of chemo. Very hard, large battle at first, just to try to get her to be somewhat of a normal little kid again. Because we went from running around to nothing. No energy, don't touch me, give me a blankie, just let me snuggle.
We did 8 to 9 weeks of treatment in the hospital. The tumor had shrunk in her kidney to the size of a walnut, so we had seen significant response from the chemo that she was on, which was a blessing, but it was still affecting the vein leading up to her heart. And the surgeon was like, it's not, that part of the tumor is not responding. So we had it scheduled for July 9th, surgery to remove the tumor.
After her surgery, you could really tell a difference almost instantly with her energy started to pick up and get better. So it was really a huge relief to see that we finally were able to turn a corner and start getting that back.
2 weeks after that, she underwent 8 treatments of proton therapy to target specifically the lungs.
Radiation knocked her down a little bit, but we could see the energy coming back.
Then on October 17th, we got to ring the bell. She had officially finished her treatment cycle. Her scan came back clear. We have scans every 3 months, CT scans, or the donut machine, to ensure that the cancer doesn't return.
But she's glad that we're kind of turning the corner now, to able to look to the future instead of what next month will bring or what next week will bring. She wants to be a doctor, since she spent so much time. Not saying it's a good thing to spend all the time at the hospital, but at least her being able to take the positive out with so many people were there to help me, and now I want to do it too.
I'm Michelle, I'm Rhett's mom. He surprised us right from the beginning, coming about just over 5 weeks early, and he was a little guy around 4 pounds, so he was doing really well in the NICU here at Gunderson, and we thought he was just kind of here to feed and grow. But then when he was around 8 days old,
the nurse that night came in and measured the circumference of his head, and it had grown 3 times the size it was supposed to be in just a matter of a week. So that night was crammed in a whole week's worth of emotion, because at first you're getting told that there's something wrong with your brand new baby, and before you know it, Michelle and me are in the truck chasing a helicopter to Madison.
they just didn't want to do surgery on him when he was so small, and so they kind of just watched him, a close eye on him for about a month. And then when he was about a month old, they did the first surgery, and they kind of tried to fix the cause of the hydrocephalus in it. And then he came out of that surgery having some seizure activity. So that kind of caused a whole other array of issues on top of the hydrocephalus that he already had.
He was close to 11 weeks old when we finally took our new baby home for the first time. It didn't really feel like you were home. It kind of felt like you were living in a hospital. The amount of meds you were given and daily schedules.
Then we would do like weekly physical therapy and occupational therapy and speech therapy and all of the things. So it kind of just started to get into a routine of that stuff.
Well, then a year later is when they basically, they diagnosed him with cerebral palsy.
That just kind of hit us like a brick wall a little bit. As he got older, other issues, like I said, just felt like it was kind of one hurdle after another. I mean, the amount of surgeries he's had in his lifetime is just crazy. I think we're to the point that if he has any more, we're gonna have to start using our toes. I think he's had about 10 in his life. I think with kids like Rhett, the future is always pretty uncertain, and he's got a lot of hurdles ahead of him still, and we know that, but he's also like making big gains, and he's such a tough, resilient kid that he just amazes me probably every day.
CMN was there day one in the hospital. They have been amazing. As you're watching your child, you're worried about him, you're worried about getting their health back on track, and you're not even thinking about the things that are gonna be down the road.
We started getting fuel cards for driving back and forth, which that took a huge weight off. You're a new parent and you're watching a helicopter fly away and it's got your kid in it, right? Your mind's racing a million miles a minute, right? And if one thing you don't have to worry about is paying for fuel in your vehicle to chase the helicopter, it helps. It's a major help.
Those gas gift cards really helped with us being able to spend time with Oakland as much as we could.
They've been with us the entire way. With our trips down to Madison, they were able to help us out with gift cards for gas, gift cards for meals.
They were caring to come in and say, hey, Mom, you need to eat too. So here are some meal vouchers. Just pop down, grab something to eat, and then you're gonna come back and everything will be okay.
During Marbury's crisis, CMN was able to pay for our hotel stay, and then they paid for gas cards because we were traveling back and forth.
It was really nice having someone come in who we didn't ask for, was there to help. And the things that we weren't even concerned about, they were willing to take care of. When you're dealing with your child's illness or a surgery like this, money and lodging and your own well-being isn't even a concern anymore.
It's just something that makes a huge difference, even if it looks like something that's just small and it all adds up.
With CMN, you got help taking care of the loose ends, because we literally make a phone call, stuff like an adaptive car seat and a wheelchair and an activity chair, all this stuff starts falling into place. And instead of making 18 phone calls and worrying about how to pay for it, you make one phone call.
Being able to have parents not think about how they're going to pay for gas, how they're going to pay for food or therapy services, just such an amazing resource to the La Crosse community and the surrounding communities.
Really gave a sense of pride of the community that you come from and the people that you're surrounded by. Know that what you're giving is extremely impactful because you're impacting people at the most vulnerable times of their life. Those are things that you never forget.
One of the therapies he participates in is this Life in Harmony weekly music therapy, and that first music therapist became part of the family. I mean, Rhett lit up, and before you know it, Rhett wasn't afraid of strangers anymore.
Marbury loves music therapy. Music is her thing. We were noticing some memory loss. This therapy is really helpful for her in connecting her to all the things that she just enjoys and loves and finds a passion in. And at the same time, it's challenging her memory in the brain.
And it's just a different way of helping her get through some of her challenges, and it's helped a lot.
We usually play like Taylor Swift and days for freeze dance, and there's all these type of instruments. There's a whole room. There's these big drums that I use. They just always like to pat on them.
When it came to her mechanical vest that we had, they assisted with payments for that. Just this year, she started doing horse therapy lessons. It's another way for her to stay active.
I have a continuous monitor which monitors my glucose instead of having to poke my finger.
The CGM, the continuous glucose monitor, was huge for us. It's been life-changing in a really good way. It allows him to carry on as fast and furious as a 10-year-old boy should.
I would say that the donations just mean the world to us because our kids mean the world to us.
I honestly can't even begin to say how thankful we are for everything that was provided. It made the world a difference just to be able to have kind of a balanced life. If it wasn't for the Miracle Network, we wouldn't have been able to do half of what we needed to do just to make sure she was getting to the next step. Thank you very much.
Thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
We're just extremely thankful and appreciative of all the help that we've been able to get with CMN.
I would just like to say thank you to all those donors.
Thank you.
Thanks for helping kids like me.
Thank you, CMN.
Say thank you.
Thank you.